You like to think you're in the driver's seat of your own life, right? That all the little choices you make day in and day out are yours and yours alone. But what if I told you that there's this powerful, invisible force that's constantly pulling the strings? It's like a social thermostat deep in your brain, automatically and subconsciously adjusting what you believe and how you act to match the social temperature of any room you walk into. So let's dive into this hidden remote control that makes you follow the crowd.
I want you to just sit with that for a second. This isn't a metaphor. It's not poetry. We are talking about a biological fact, a hardwired response so powerful it can override your logic, your values, even what you see with your own two eyes. Because to the ancient parts of your brain, standing out, being that lone voice of dissent, well, it can feel just as threatening as a broken bone. So that brings us to the big question. Why? Why does it physically hurt to disagree with people? Why does just having a different opinion trigger this deep, painful response that makes us just clam up and nod along? Well, we're about to unpack the exact neurology behind that feeling, and we're going to discover that the pain isn't a flaw. It's a feature of our survival.
To really get this, we first have to explore what neuroscientists call social pain, or what I call the social wound. This is that specific, chilling ache you get from not fitting in, from feeling rejected. And this isn't just about hurt feelings. It is a measurable, physiological event happening inside your head.
I mean, think about a time you felt it. You're in a meeting at work, and some obviously terrible idea starts picking up steam. The boss loves it, your coworkers are all nodding, and you can feel this physical pressure building in your chest to just go with it. Or maybe you're with friends, and they're all laughing at something that feels wrong to you, but you find yourself laughing nervously instead of saying something. That conflict, that discomfort, that's not a character flaw. It's a biological alarm bell going off. What you're experiencing in those moments is something called social pain synchronization. See, your brain is, above all else, a social organ. For our ancestors out on the savannah, being different meant being cast out of the tribe. And being cast out was a death sentence. There was no surviving alone. That ancient life or death reflex is still running on your neural hardware today, treating a modern social rejection with the same urgency as being left for the saber-toothed cats. So how exactly does this ancient reflex turn into a modern-day alarm system inside our skulls? A system that's designed for a world that doesn't really exist anymore, but one that still has a powerful grip on your life. Let's take a look. The science here is just fascinating. Using fMRI scans, researchers can see that when you feel social rejection, when you feel left out or just not in sync with a group, a part of your brain called the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, or the DACC, it just lights up. And here's the kicker. This is the exact same region that processes the emotional sting of physical pain. Your brain doesn't have one button for a broken heart and another for a broken arm. To your brain, it's all just pain. You're feeling a literal social heartache, and your brain is screaming that something is very, very wrong. And this social heartache kicks off a really effective cycle. First, the pain hits you. This triggers what's called a limbic alarm, where your emotional, reactive brain just hijacks the system. Clear, rational thought, it goes completely offline. And to make the pain stop, your brain does something incredible. It starts to work your perception of reality to match the group's. Psychologists call this private acceptance. You don't just pretend to agree. On some level, you actually start to believe it. And in that moment, to silence the alarm, you trade a piece of your authentic self for the feeling of safety. Now, this whole process isn't random. It's not chaotic. It's a predictable, almost mechanical system. So the key here is to understand the operating system your brain is using to enforce this alignment. Let's map out the conformity loop. This is called the social regulatory loop. The best way to think about it is like your brain's pre-installed software for group survival. It's a 4-stage process that runs totally automatically in the background to keep you safely inside the tribe. It's that invisible remote control we talked about, guiding you without you even knowing it. And understanding this loop is the first step to taking back control.
Okay, let's break these 4 stages down. Imagine you're at dinner, and everyone loves a political idea that you think is just deeply flawed. Stage 1, the deviation signal. The second you realize I'm the only one who disagrees, your amygdala, your brain's threat detector, flags this as a security threat. Stage 2, the neurochemical penalty. To get your attention fast, your brain punishes you. It literally cuts your supply of dopamine and serotonin, the feel-good chemicals. So you suddenly feel anxious, maybe a little cold, disconnected. It's a terrible feeling, and it's designed to make you act. Stage 3, the alignment response. Your rational brain prefrontal cortex, wants this pain to stop, so it scrambles to find a reason to agree. It starts whispering things like, maybe I'm wrong, it's not worth the fight, just agree. And finally, stage 4, the belonging reward. The instant you give in, the moment you nod your head and say, that's a good point, your brain floods your system with oxytocin, the bonding hormone, and a fresh hit of dopamine. You feel warm, safe, connected, you feel right again. The loop is complete.
And this lays out the brutal transaction your brain is making, plain and simple. On one side, you have the punishment for being an individual, anxiety, coldness, feeling excluded. On the other, the reward for conforming, warmth, safety, feeling like you belong. Your brain is basically offering you a neurochemical bribe. It's saying, give me your authenticity, and I'll give you the feeling of safety you crave more than anything else. For a brain that's wired for survival, that's an offer that's almost impossible to refute.
So why? Why is our brain so willing to make this trade? Why would it be designed to sacrifice objective truth just for a feeling of safety? Well, the answer is buried deep in our evolutionary code, and it leads to a truly mind-bending discovery about how the pressure to conform can literally change what you see. It really boils down to 3 simple rules. First, evolutionary safety. For our ancestors, being wrong and together was always safer than being right and alone. The tribe was everything. Second, metabolic efficiency. Thinking for yourself, challenging the group, that's hard work. It burns a ton of mental energy. Just following the herd is cheap and easy. And third, social proof. The brain loves shortcuts, and a big one is, if everyone else is running in one direction, they probably know something you don't. It's a survival trick that usually works, until it doesn't.
But the crowd's influence goes so much deeper than just nudging your opinion around to save some energy or feel safe. The reality of what's happening inside your skull is far more profound, and honestly, it's a little unsettling.
It's not just about changing your mind to fit in. The group can literally change what you perceive. This is the big twist. Brain imaging studies show that when people are under social pressure and they conform to an obviously wrong answer, the activity in their brain isn't in the decision-making parts. No, it's in the vision and spatial perception areas. You aren't consciously deciding to lie. The social pressure is actually altering the sensory data your brain is processing before it even hits your conscious mind. The crowd changes what you see. So, are we just helpless puppets dancing on our ancient biological strings? Absolutely not. Now that we understand the system, we can learn how to outsmart it. Think of this section as the user manual for your social brain. It's about building what we call strategic autonomy, the skill of choosing when to listen to the tribe and when to listen to yourself. The first and by far the most powerful tool is finding what's called a dissenting ally. The pressure to conform is at its absolute peak when a group is unanimous. But back in the 1950s, the famous Asch conformity experiments found that if just one other person in the room agrees with you, the pressure to conform drops by over 80%. That one ally shatters the group's unanimity power and signals to your brain that you're not actually alone and about to be cast out. The second tool is all about time. See, that conformity loop we talked about, it thrives on immediate, emotional gut reactions. The neurochemical bribe demands an instant answer. To fight back, all you need to do is create a tiny gap between the stimulus and your response. And the magic number for that gap is 10 seconds. So here are the 3 core tools for your toolkit. 1. Engineer your environment. If you know you're walking into a high-pressure situation, find that dissenting ally beforehand. Even just a quick text that says, hey, I have some concerns about this plan, is enough. 2. Use your mind. When you feel that social pain, that anxious feeling, just label it. Say to yourself, this is just my pain center firing. It's an old alarm. I am not in danger. That simple act helps shift power from your emotional brain back to your rational brain. And 3, use the 10-second rule. Just make a simple habit. I will wait 10 seconds before I agree. That tiny pause is often all you need to make a conscious choice, not a reactive one. This brings us to our final and maybe the most important idea of all. It's about reframing this entire experience and finding the courage to speak up when it really matters to you. Once you understand this loop, it changes everything. That painful, gut-wrenching feeling you get when you disagree, it's not a sign that you're weak or cowardly. It's the exact opposite. It's a sign that your ancient survival programming is working perfectly. Your brain isn't coded to be a follower. It's coded to be a survivor. And knowing that the pain is just an old alarm, not a modern truth, that's the first step to realizing you have the strength to manage it. And that
really is the ultimate takeaway. Our deepest, most fundamental human need is to belong. It is hardwired into us. But the point of our lives isn't just to fit in. The right tribe, the right community, the right partner, they won't ask you to silence who you are. They'll want the real you, not the edited version. So the challenge for all of us is to navigate that tension, to honor our profound need for connection while having the courage and now the tools to be who we were created to be.